I did watch the Royal Rumble last night, and I have mixed feelings about it, but that's not what this video is going to be about. Instead, I want to focus on one man who participated in the pay-per-view in general, and that is Brock Lesnar. Now, I did not believe that Finn Balor was going to beat Brock. I did believe he was going to have a good showing against him, but I knew he wasn't going to win. And that's because Brock has been built up way too much. No one can stop him. He's the one who ended The Undertaker's streak. He annihilated John Cena at SummerSlam 2014. He has just steamrolled all over any competition he's had, and that includes legends, future Hall of Famers, and the people who were considered the guy or the man or however you want to put it in the WWE. He's unbeatable at this current time. And the more I thought about it, I came up with an analogy for one of my favorite stories to relate to Brock Lesnar. And this story is one that scared me greatly as a kid, to the point that it's always in the back of my mind. And that is the H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. Now, in case you don't know the story, I'll summarize it for you. Martians have been observing the human race for a very long time, and they have come up with a plan to take over our planet. So one night they crashed down near London, England, because Great Britain was the superpower of the world at the time. The book takes place in 1899, I believe. And the Martians, they have built these tripods, these gigantic tripod machines with built-in heat waves. And every time they see a human or human beings, they will aim their heat waves and zap those human beings out of existence. Like, they'll just, they'll be burned alive or disintegrate, however you want to put it. And so, the world, of course, humans, we have to retaliate. So we are throwing everything we have at them. Guns, bombs, warships, trains, and nothing works. Eventually, we do kind of put up a fight against them, to the point that we do manage to hurt them and kill a few of the Martian soldiers. But it's not enough in the grand scheme of things. The Martians just keep coming. They keep sending tripods, and the tripods eventually overwhelm the entire human race, and nothing seems like it's gonna beat them. It seems like all hope is lost. The Martians are gonna kill every last human, and they're gonna take over the world for themselves. But there is one thing that the Martians did not plan for, and I'm gonna save that for later in the video, because for you to get a better understanding of what Brock Lesnar is the Martians from War of the Worlds. He is a unbeatable force of nature. He knows how to fight, and his defenses are impenetrable. Especially if you want to take in the movies, for example, you have the 1953 version, you have the 2005 Spielberg version, and there's even a new version coming out this year by the British Broadcasting Company, if that's what it's called. It's the BBC. But I'm going to focus with 1953 and 2005 for now. Because in both those versions, the Martians, because given the fact that humanity keeps advancing, in 1953, humanity has advanced to become far superior than we were in 1899. This, of course, is after World War II, so we have nukes. And in the 1953 version, the first battle, we are throwing everything we have at them, with the exception of nukes. And nothing's working because the Martians, if humanity advances, the Martians need to advance too. That's the only way the Martians will remain the Martians from War of the Worlds because they're supposed to be superior to humanity in terms of technology. So, 1953 human race versus the Martians. We are throwing everything we have at them. We would annihilate the 1899 Martians, but because the Martians advanced too, they have shields, or as the star of that movie put it, energy blisters, something like that. I remember he used the word blisters. And these blisters protected the tripods from being destroyed. In the 2005 version, they did the same thing. Only instead of calling it blisters, they called them shields. And in the 1953 version, we eventually decided, okay, we have no choice. We have to drop a nuke on them. And so we get the great scene where the plane is flying overhead. It passes the heroes of the movie, and it drops the atomic bomb on 3 of the Martian, well, they were saucers in the 1953 version, not tripods. And it lasts for a few seconds. There's a big bang and a big glare of light. And once the dust settles, the Martians are still standing. The nuke of all things, or the atomic bomb, did not have any effect on the Martians because their shields were just that great. Now, in the 2005 version, there was no nuke scene. It just kept showing humanity shooting everything they had, rocket launchers, tanks, battle-ready Humvees, and everything, and nothing worked. Eventually, we had to see Tom Cruise, the star of the movie. He had to get smart and take grenades that were left behind by a soldier, allow himself to get captured, and this tentacle that captured him was pulling him up into the machine to be harvested, and he took the grenade, he readied the grenades, threw them in the machine, and then the people who were with Tom Cruise at the time pulled him back out to keep him safe while the tripod exploded and those Martians actually got killed. That's an example of humanity being able to hurt the Martians. But even though we can hurt them, in the grand scheme of things, in both the 2005 version and the 1953 version, where we couldn't even hurt them, their force was just too great. They were overwhelming us, and we had no way of beating them. They looked like the Martians were going to take over the world, and that's what War of the Worlds is. The Martians are destined to defeat us every time in terms of conventional warfare, and even when we turn to guerrilla warfare, it's not going to be enough. The reason I bring this up is because at the end of the story, and there's this great line, I know it's from the 2005 version, but there was different iterations, I believe. Like, there was a different iteration in the 1953 version, and there was a different iteration in the 2005 version, and I believe they were iterations, or different iterations from the book. Because at the end of the story, the main character, he approaches one of the Martian tripods, and he's thinking, maybe, if I remember correctly, he's thinking he should probably just let the Martians kill him because there was no hope. But as he approaches the tripod, he discovers all the Martians have been killed. But not by bullets, not by bombs, not by sword wounds, or any kind of conventional warfare. The Martians got sick. It wasn't man that killed these Martians. It was the germs of the entire world. The smallest creatures on the planet that we take for granted, that we are afraid of, they killed the Martians, who were seemingly unbeatable because the Martians had no immunity to them. If I remember correctly, the Martians, a very long time ago, they became so advanced that they managed to wipe out all germs from Mars, that over time, throughout generation after generation, they forgot about germs because they didn't think it was an issue anymore. This is what needs to happen with Brock Lesnar. I don't mean he needs to get sick. That's not the case. But as you will see, at 100%, he is like the 1953 version of the Martians. He's completely unbeatable. But if you can find a way to use guerrilla warfare on him, like they did in the 2005 version, you can hurt him. And by guerrilla warfare in this case, I mean if, say, Daniel Bryan hits him in the balls. Or, for example, last night, Finn Balor pushed his stomach into the announce table, and that hurt him badly. That is guerrilla warfare. Because if you remember, a few years ago, Brock Lesnar almost died from diverticulitis. It's like some kind of really bad stomach condition. However, as we can see from Daniel Bryan, Undertaker even, and Finn, the guerrilla warfare tactics just are not working against this Martian war machine called Brock Lesnar. So the only thing I think can beat Brock is a quote-unquote germ. We need to find a germ, so to speak, to touch Brock, infect his entire body, and then, when the time is right, completely defeat him. In terms of wrestling, I mean. And the thing is, there's no quote-unquote germs in the current roster of WWE. I believe the germs, if you will, are gonna come up from NXT. And I'm not saying that because I'm an NXT mark. I never have time to watch NXT. I respect the talent that comes up, and I'm always excited to see them. The thing is, they need to be built up to the point that they can just take Brock by storm like the Jones and the Martians, with the Martians. The NXT superstars are the only ones remaining who have not had a shot at Brock Lesnar. And there was a famous thing from War of the Worlds. I believe it's from the book and the movies. And it goes something like this. This line. It goes, even after all of man's weapons and devices had failed, the Martian war machine, so great and powerful that I'm butchering it, but let me try again. Even after all of man's weapons and devices had failed, the great war machine of the Martians was finally defeated by the smallest things that God and all his wisdom put on the earth. Now, there was a famous, well, not really exactly famous, but there was another wrestling review channel on YouTube called OTRS Central. And the host of that show, I think his name is Jeff Schlug. He also calls himself the Schlug Daddy. He always refers to Triple H as God. And what is Triple H in charge of? NXT. So, say Triple H is God, and he is planting the seeds to defeat Brock Lesnar eventually. He is putting all these germs into NXT. And eventually, one of these germs is going to become so powerful that it's going to debut on the main roster. It's going to challenge Brock Lesnar, even after everyone else on the main roster, all of man's weapons and devices have failed. And it's going to wipe the floor with Brock. It's going to annihilate him. And finally, the War of the Worlds and the great unstoppable Martian war machine that is Brock Lesnar will be defeated, and humanity will rejoice. It will be an NXT superstar, whether they are currently on the NXT roster, or they are going to be called up soon, or they haven't even begun NXT. This germ will eventually come, and Brock's days as the Great Martian War Machine terrorizing the human race will come to an end.